We have made it to the end of the year 2025 on the horizon. So we have one more Streetwise program for you for this year. And you know this lovely, lovely face here, Kim Vanatta. She's the Assistant Director with the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, joining us once again to really focus in on pedestrian and driver safety and just how to stay safe. You know, it's been a good year. I want to start off with the trend as far as deaths, what you've seen for 2024.
This year has been a good year. We are actually trending downward this year in both motorist fatalities and pedestrian fatalities. And I think that's huge. We have not had a decrease in pedestrian fatalities in years. So we're finally reaching that point where people are paying attention and they understand that they need to be paying attention. What
do you think has changed?
I'm not going to take credit for it at all, but this message is all across the state as much as we can. We just keep saying pedestrian fatalities are up, pedestrian fatalities are up. We've added a new program called Crosswalk Talk, and we're going out to the pedestrians, not telling them what to do, we're asking them what we need to do to help them remember to cross where they're supposed to cross, or if there are other issues that they have that we can try to correct. We don't want to preach to them. We want to find out what we can do to help. So that's what we're trying to do.
So that's what we're going to try to do on today's Streetwise, on what you're seeing today ahead of New Year's Eve. Again, time to celebrate. Woo! Have party and have a lot of fun with our loved ones, our friends, and our family. But also setting up 2025 maybe to help that trend continue to go down with those fatalities for pedestrians and for drivers. I do want to start with one number though, and this is from the National Safety Council and the estimation of the deaths for this day. 375 people may die in the U.S. on the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day holiday. Those are the two most dangerous days of the year. That's really, since it's here, that's a really hard number to take in.
It really is. And I think because people are celebrating the end of the year, the beginning of the new year, and there's an opportunity with so many New Year's Eve parties, so people are going to be served alcohol, they are going to drink, but we just want to make sure that people are partying with the plan. So you go to these residences or these parties, you can drink, but have a way to get home before you even get there. Before you get there and start drinking, you can call a ride share. They're everywhere. You can have a sober driver, designated sober driver. And as a host or hostess of the party, you can serve non-alcoholic beverages and you can watch the people that are at the party to make sure that they get home safely. I just want everybody to take care of everybody else.
100%. This really goes for not just drinking and driving, but any impaired driving.
Right. There are people now are on prescription medication, or there could be other drugs that they are on, and those affect us too. People don't realize it, and that's a big deal. So we have the impairment, and if you're drinking and also taking those drugs or prescription drugs, then they mix, and that makes the even higher.
So we want to just make sure that you have all the information that you need. And again, I ask you to share this segment with those in your circle because it's information they need to hear to really end 2024 on a positive and to start 2025 on another positive note. So on today's show, we're going to be talking about ways to stay safe, just some tips to share with you once again, as well as some other little bullet points for driving under the influence or driving while you're tired, just things to keep in mind. So there's a lot to talk about for us as pedestrians and us as motorists. So stick with us here on Streetwise. Kim's going to have all this information for us when we come back.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
Welcome back to Streetwise. Again, it's hard to believe that this year is already over. A lot of things planned for the 2025 New Year's Eve celebrations. I'm sure out there, a lot of people getting together. Kim Vanatta, always with some great information for us as we're talking about ways to stay safe and some tips and things that you need to know before New Year's. It's hard to believe that we're here.
I can't believe
we just did this.
Yes, it did fly by this year.
It truly did. So as we're getting into this New Year's holiday, what have you guys been doing to make sure that everyone has the information that they need to make sure things to do to stay safe this holiday season?
We are just our message, we're spreading it everywhere, statewide. We want everybody to know what this message is. We have the booze it and lose it. We also sports, because we have an issue with men ages 18 to 44, and that is where they usually are. So we're going to these sporting events and all across the state and giving our message there. And we have that message is fans don't let fans drive drunk. So anywhere we can put our message, we are putting our message, and we want everybody to pay attention to it.
Do you think that has helped with helping the trend of fatalities to go down?
I really do, because we are like I said, we're at everywhere statewide. So we're at the colleges, we're at the Predators, we're at the Grizzlies. So we're reaching so many different people with this. Our commercials are playing, so they're listening to it. They're looking at all of our signage. So, I mean, I really do think it makes a difference.
Tell me, I know you're in so many places. Do you have people sharing their stories, maybe of lost loved ones, or, do you ever connect with those who have lost someone?
We do. We have different programs. We have teen programs, and the distracted driving is an issue, distracted driving, distracted walking. And we have people that victim advocates, their families are coming in telling their stories. That's very impactful for people to hear. How
do we find those, or how do we maybe share those stories, especially with the young drivers out there?
Actually, you can find what we are doing on our website, which is tntrafficsafety.org. So you go to our website, and everything that we're doing is on this website.
Don't let me forget to ask for that website one more time before the end of our episode today for Streetwise. But going into New Year's, again, a lot of holiday parties. A lot of people tend to celebrate with a libation, with some sort of cocktail, or some other substance that may affect you in a negative way. So first, let's talk about before drinking, what we need to do.
Before you take that first drink, you need to know how you're getting home. And it needs to be with a sober driver. If you want a designated driver, that's fine. If you want to call rideshare, that's fine. But we need to make sure we are partying with a plan. I keep saying that, but it's just ringing true with the holiday season, because we are celebrating the end of a great year and the beginning of a new year. So we're celebrating, but we want to celebrate safely.
What about the hosts and hostesses of the parties out there?
The hosts and the hostesses probably have the greatest responsibility, because they're serving these alcoholic beverages. They need to serve non-alcoholic beverages as well. And I mean, this is a party. They're hosting a party. Their friends are all coming. We want their friends to get home safely too. So I think the host and hostess really need to pay attention to how much they're serving. If someone's been overserved, make sure that person gets home.
For those who do plan to host some sort of gathering out there, what responsibility or what could they be held liable for if something happens to someone who attended their party? Is there something that...
I don't know if there's something, but there's something. If something happens to one of their friends, I would
the guilt.
Yes, I couldn't. There's no way I could handle that happening to one of my friends, and me knowing I could have done something to prevent it.
Just wanted to see, out there, just for those, because again, a lot of us will be hosting those parties. I
Yes.
know, we'll be hosting one. So it's just really something to be aware of. As you're getting into that car, don't forget to do that most important thing when you first get into that seat, buckling the seatbelt.
That is, and we are still having an issue with that.
No way.
Even though cars, they start the beeping as soon as
That annoying beeping.
Stop the beeping. Let's go ahead and buckle. And I'll even, if I'm just driving across the parking lot, I think it's just repetition. Automatically buckle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we really need to. We are a high use state. We are above 90% using those seat belts, but we need that other 10% to buckle up too.
So yes, put on that safety belt. If we see an impaired driver, if we think that we're seeing a car that may have an impaired individual behind the wheel, what should we do?
We should first pull over so you're not distracted driving, and then you call the police department, tell them exactly where they are. If you can give them a license plate, that would even be better. And interstate, it's happening a lot, but if you look at around town, especially during this holiday season, you'll be able to see it. And like I said, as much information as you can give the police, the better, because you're saving other people's lives too if they keep driving down the road and they're impaired.
One other point to bring up, don't put yourself in a bad position.
Exactly.
As someone riding with someone else.
Right. If someone that is driving and they've had a drink or prescription drugs or anything else that affects their ability to drive, never get behind the wheel of a car with them. But if you can do anything to prevent them from getting behind the wheel of a car, you need to do so. But never put yourself at risk and get into a car with someone who has been drinking.
Could we touch on some of the ways that we could prevent someone from getting behind the wheel of a car? Because that can be challenging.
It can be challenging, but you can also take their keys, and sometimes when they're not paying attention.
Oh, you lost your keys? Shucks.
Where did those keys go? Because it is hard, and sometimes they get stubborn. I'm only going a block down the road. Everything will be fine, no problem, but it's not fun. It's not fun.
In a split second, something can happen.
Exactly.
I do, before we get to talking about the extra officers that we're going to see out on the roadways, from local officers, sheriff's deputies to highway patrol, I want to touch on, you do still have a lot of people working this holiday season. You have people that may be tired. Do those lead to accidents, or how often does that lead to accidents that you've
absolutely. When you're on the road and you get tired and you're falling asleep and you can't pay attention. So if you are tired, you at least need to pull off if you're on the interstate at some exit so you can sit. If there's somebody in the car that can drive for you, that would be great, but you should never, because your eyes are going to close, which means they're not going to be on the road. Your reflexes are not going to be quick. So, I mean, there are just so many things, and that is a good one. Okay. Because people are falling asleep some people are driving from a long distance to go to these parties.
100% traveling to see the people that we want to see. I also want to say, going back to that, if you see something, say something, like pulling off, to make sure you're calling law enforcement, because it could be someone, not only someone that is, under the influence of something, but someone who is tired or having a medical emergency. So you just never know. So really do keep an eye out. If you see something, pull off and make sure that you're reaching out to your local law enforcement in your area, no matter where you are. Now let's talk about the extra officers out on the road. How much increased patrol will we see? Do you know?
This is a big time for overtime enforcement. So they will be everywhere. And we want them everywhere because that's what's going to keep us safe. And they're not trying, it's not a gotcha thing. We're just trying to get them safe, get them off the road. And if you need a ride and there's an officer there, he can get you a ride or she can get you a ride, because we don't want you on the road if you're impaired in any way. And we talked about sleepy, we talked about distracted, we talked about drinking. Bottom line, we want you safe.
Yes, that's just the big point there. We want everyone to stay safe.
Right.
What will be the biggest success for you at the end of 2024 for all that you guys have done?
That's so hard, because we don't want anybody to die on the roads. Of course, we can't do anything about the past, but it would be great if we could have no more till the end of the year. That would be very much a success. We just want people to listen. That's all we can do, is send our message and talk to them and help them and be there in person. And we are doing as much as we can do. So like I said, we want to save everybody. It's very difficult because we need people paying attention. And there's a lot to pay attention to. But if you don't perform what you're supposed to do, then we're going to have those crashes.
And the Tennessee Highway Safety Office working very hard to get all of this information out to all of us. So, we focus a lot on pedestrian safety, and you know what? If you've seen the show before, you kind of know where we're going now. We're going to be talking about pedestrian safety once again, and this can help you whether you're in a busy city, whether you're out in a subdivision, in a local town. These are all tips and pieces of information that you need to know and that you can share. So stick with us. We're not going anywhere. We're coming right back at you.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 124-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit LionelNashville.com or call 615-455-9399.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Welcome back to this episode of Streetwise. Kim and I both been sitting here talking a lot on tips on how motorists can stay safe, but we're going to be talking about pedestrians now and what pedestrians can do to stay safe. But I want to hit on a number because this is a did you know? Did you know 50% of all car accidents on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day are caused by high blood alcohol concentration? That is just typically what that number is. 50%, that's a big percentage.
Right, and I mean, we track what happens when, and so we can tell when those are happening, which is why we have law enforcement in full force during this time of year, because it is a time of celebration. People really are celebrating, and we want them to. Everybody wants to celebrate, but celebrate successfully, celebrate safely. So the impaired is an issue, like you said, 50%. So we have to really drive that number down, and driving that number down is trying to keep them off the road if they have been drinking or if they're on some kind of prescription drugs, impaired in any way. We want them off the road, not driving.
Because these 2 days are the most dangerous 2 days of the year, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You communicate, you talk a lot with law enforcement throughout the state of Tennessee. What is this day like for them, or this 24-hour period?
It's insane for them because they know these numbers and because they're trying to do the same thing. They want these people off the road, and there are just so many areas that they have to work. And law enforcement right now, they don't have as many as they need, because there aren't as many law enforcement on the road. So they really do, you're talking about the amount of law enforcement out, the amount of time that they have to work, and they're trying to keep everybody safe just like we are. I mean, I can't say enough good about law enforcement.
And I was about to follow up on that with, all law enforcement out there, your local officers, your deputies, sheriff's deputies, Tennessee Highway Patrol, thank you. Thank you so much for what you do, not just this time of year, but throughout the 12-month period. So thank you so much. Hats off to all of you.
I want to just to add to that, we're talking about how we're celebrating the end of the year, celebrating the beginning of the year. These officers are working on those days of the year. They're not celebrating like we can. They are actually working, trying to save us on those days of the year. I have so much respect for law enforcement.
100%. And those actually, since we're on this right this minute, our hospital workers out there, our nurses and doctors at the hospitals that will see, these individuals come in. Again, so much heart and just, thanks to all of you. Talking about pedestrian collisions, those are also usually caused by a high alcohol, in their system, for those not just behind the wheel, but just those walking on the roads.
Right. So,
like Nashville will be hopping.
Yes, it will, because we have plenty of places to hop to. We have Broad, which the honky tonks are all on Broad. They're all celebrating. We have New Year's Eve fireworks, and they're walking down to the river New Year's Eve. And people are walking everywhere because they want to see the lights, and they're just celebrating. And you talk about the impairment of the motorists, but we also have impairment of the pedestrians. So we have to really watch out for both segments, both areas, the motorists, the pedestrians. We talk about the scooters. Scooters are considered pedestrians. So we have all of these things on the road that we all have to work together, and we want everybody to pay attention.
And as you're out, since you'll have so many people in a concentrated area, like a city like Nashville or maybe like Knoxville, any celebration like that, don't make yourself an easy target for criminal activity. That's another note that we want to touch on, just because, again, if you are impaired in any way, you may not be fully aware. So don't make yourself a target for that. That is a big tip as well.
Right. You need to keep yourself safe. But again, this goes back to planning. You can't make these decisions when you're out there or when you're impaired. You have to say, okay, before I go out, I'm going to be with another person we're going to work together. Or if I drink, I'm going to have a plan to get home, whether it's ride share or someone else is going to take me home. But you can't in the moment, you can't make that decision because your brain's incapable of making that decision. So plan before and then have fun.
As a kid, we always talk about buddy systems. This is another great time of year to think of a buddy system. Like, have someone, if you're out with a group of friends, like, okay, Kim, you're my buddy for the evening. If you lose, don't lose sight of me, and I'm not going to lose sight of you. So that's really good to, just keep in contact with your friends. On the pedestrian paths out there on your sidewalks, make sure you're using those. Utilize that space where you have them.
Right. Anytime there's a sidewalk, it's silly not to use that sidewalk. That's why it's there. So you're using the sidewalk. If you don't have a sidewalk, and unfortunately there are places we don't, a pedestrian needs to walk facing traffic. So it'll be on the left side of the road. But then you go back to speed, because we like to be in a hurry to get everywhere. And those motorists, if they're driving very quickly, that's a problem for pedestrians, which is why at night, especially, we don't need to be wearing dark clothing. We need to have reflective gear on. If you have a phone with a light on it, use that phone with the light on. You want to keep yourself visible.
So keep that in mind. And again, you mentioned on another show, on another episode of Streetwise, we always have our cell phones with us. There's a flashlight on your phone. You can use that too.
Absolutely. Anything that you can find that is reflective. But again, I'll go back to planning. Before you leave, don't wear the dark clothes. Make sure you have something reflective on. And then, like you said, the phones. So make sure you have something to make other people aware of you.
Another tip for you, walk in well-lit areas if you're out and about. Again, as we talked about, not making yourself a target, walk in well-lit areas. Kim mentioned walking on the cross streets, roads, and intersections where crosswalks are available. We touched on this in a previous Streetwise episode, that pedestrians have the right of way. So because you have a lot of turn on red at that point, if you're a pedestrian at that crosswalk, the pedestrian has the right of way.
Pedestrian has the right of way,
but
by law.
Yes.
But the pedestrian's still going to lose if they get hit by the motorist. So even though you have the right of way, you need to look not just left, right, left, which is what we're taught before we drive. Left, right, left, across, diagonally, to see if someone is coming, because you want to keep yourself safe.
100%. So be extra cautious, be extra aware, whether you're walking or you're behind the wheel of a car or vehicle. Do not walk impaired or under the influence. Not only does this make you an easy target for, again, criminal activity, just reiterating here, but you could also cause injury to yourself, or possibly, there's always being arrested for public intoxication. And so being impaired in any way, just stay safe, and you don't have to come up against that.
Exactly.
So big points to keep in mind as we go into this New Year's Eve, New Year's Day period. And something else I wanted to ask. I know things can be dangerous on New Year's Eve, but say if you're somewhere, you stay, you're like, I'm going to get an hour or so sleep. I've partied, I just need to sleep for an hour before I get on the road. That's still also a dangerous time, because alcohol stays in your system for a period of time.
Right. People think, well, I can just wait a couple of hours, or I've only had 2 drinks, so it's going to get out of my system more quickly. It does stay with you longer than you think it's going to. So don't think you can drink a cup of coffee or have water and it's not leaving your system. All you can do is wait for time, and it takes a lot of time. And it's better safe than sorry.
100%. Because again, we want to keep this trend of fatalities. We
Exactly.
want to keep that down. We want to make sure that we are going into 2025 in good spirits and still with our loved ones. Kim, thank you so much. We have more to touch on when we come back. Do you have a New Year's resolution out there? I know I'm working on mine right now. I think still before 2025. Kim, do you have yours ready?
I am also working on mine right now. Can I copy you?
Oh, yeah, sure. So hopefully when we come back, we're both going to have one. So we're going to share that with you.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
Thanks for sticking with us here for Streetwise. We do hope that you're taking something from our Streetwise programs because Kim Vanatta, as the Assistant Director for the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, you work tirelessly to get this information out to keep every last person in the state safe for those who are Tennesseans and those who are coming in to visit here in our state.
Right.
So thank you for that. Again, time for New Year's resolutions. What is yours? What do you hope to do in 2025?
Actually, my resolution, you talked about we want to reach everybody in the state, but we want to make sure we are truly reaching everyone. So we have the underserved community. So we have other people that, maybe they don't speak English. We need to reach those people. So we want to reach everyone, not just the ones who speak our language. We want to reach the Hispanics. We want to reach the African American community because maybe they're not getting the message. So we want to make sure everyone is reached.
So how do you hit all of the demographics in our state?
Well, we have data, and we can look at the data where these people are residing. So we have the Hispanic population, we have Native Americans, we have African Americans, and maybe maybe we're not giving the message correctly. So we're trying to reach everyone, and that's what we want to do.
So that is a great New Year's resolution to work on reaching all of those populations. I guess I have to share since you shared, it's my turn now. I always say I want to read extra books, but I'm a pretty avid reader. So I'd like to learn something, like pick a topic each month and learn a little more about it. So my husband's into history. I would love to, just something which I get to learn a little bit about a lot of things because of what I do, but I'd like to dive in on some historical topics, I think, and learn, to keep up with him. He has all of these things packed away and I'm like, I have no idea. So that would be mine, just to learn a little bit more. But I learn and take so much away from our conversations that we have, and it's things that just I know, but you forget. And I think for a lot of people, that's what this is.
Oh,
it's like they say, well, we hear this all the time, but you don't always keep it at the forefront of your mind.
Right. You hear it, but maybe you don't do it. And we need to make sure we're doing it.
100%. And hats off to your office and the fact that the trend for fatalities for both motorists and pedestrians, that is down here in 2024.
Well, I'm not going to say it's our office, but I'm going to say the awareness is becoming much better. So people are listening, and we're glad to see that they're listening.
Do you think also, and I have to ask, because you have a lot of different generations now going away from alcohol. You have a lot of, alcohol-free or imitation things that are coming out. Do you think that has helped, kind of that non-alcohol? It has to. Something's happening because you're like you said, that people are drinking less. The only thing is I go back to they're drinking less, but then we have the prescription medication. So it's just, I never want to stop doing any of this because I want to make sure we're reaching everyone. And if people will take responsibility for themselves, that's great. Kim, please never ever stop. We always appreciate you. Kim Vanatta, the Assistant Director with the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. How can we continue to follow what you do and picking up on your messages?
We actually have a website that is tntrafficsafety.org, and it has all of our programs are on this website. So I encourage everyone to go to that website.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all of our Streetwise segments and just enlightening us. Again, we hope you've enjoyed just another segment. Please share it. And you can find this program and many others, actually all of our Main Street programs, by downloading Main Street Media, TV Mobile. You'll have it right at your fingertips. Just watch it when you're at home or when you're not moving, when you're not in a car. Just reiterating that. You can also find Streetwise on Facebook, on X, YouTube, Roku, Amazon, Apple TV, Fire TV, and then we get to look forward to January 2025. And in 2025 in January, we'll get to see exactly how we did in 2024. So cannot wait to catch back up with you after the new year. Thank you so much. Oh, it's such a pleasure always. Okay, you guys out there, all of you, stay safe. We'll see you next year.